All right, so we have a question here. I have cleaned it up for clarity. This came straight from the questions board. It's never been answered before, so hopefully I can help. It says a salesman earns $1,600. Another salesman earns $500 plus 5% commission. How much in sales would the second salesman have to make to earn more money than the first salesman? Well, what we're doing is we are comparing two quantities. So the best approach here is to form an inequality, which for sure lets us know that we are looking for two values that are being compared to each other but are not equal. Okay, so I am looking for, okay, the second salesman who makes $500 plus, right, 5%, and this is 5% written as a decimal, 500ths, right? Makes $500 plus 5% commission to make more than the first salesman. He's over here. $1,600 is what they make definitively. Okay. I want to know 5% of what value. That is what I need to know. Since I don't know right now, I'm going to use a variable. Let's use X, our most commonly used variable, okay, to represent the amount of money that salesman number 2 over here has to make to earn more than salesman number 1 over here. Great. Let's solve it. So, as with equations, in order to solve, you are going to make sure that both sides of your inequality stay balanced. And the way you do that is by performing equal operations on both sides. So I am looking to figure out the value of x, which means I have to isolate that variable, that unknown quantity. And once I do that, I will then know what that value is. It'll no longer be unknown. So let's get started. Okay, I have a positive $500 being added on. So we will get rid of that first by doing the inverse operation of addition, right? Which is subtraction. Okay. I do it on the left side and the right side of the inequality. Okay, that's how we keep everything balanced. So 500 minus 500, that is gone. 0 remains there. Okay, 1600 minus 500, that's 1100. All right. Okay, so I'm looking at now just having, make that decimal point bigger, 5% of meaning to multiply, right? Okay, 5% of a value. And I know this is multiplication because when I have a coefficient, in this case, 500ths, okay, next to a variable, in this case, x, the indicated operation is multiplication, all right? So let's not forget to bring down our inequality symbol, still greater than. I'm looking for this to be greater than $1,100, right? 5% of a number has to be greater than $1,100. So since this is multiplication, right, I am going to now do the opposite of multiplication, the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So let's do that. Okay. Make that clearer. Okay. I am multiplying by 500, so now it's time to do the opposite to both sides of the inequality, which is to, oops, don't know where that second decimal point came from, which is to divide by 500ths. All right, there we go. Perfect. So now we're not going to belabor the point. 500ths divided by 500ths, 1, right? Any value divided by itself is 1, right? Have 1x left, which is what I want. And now this is the perfect time to go ahead and bring in a calculator. I'm just going to go to the one on my phone. Got my, right here, got my 1100 up. I'm going to divide by 500ths. There we go. And I can see that the amount of sales is 22 $22,000. $22,000 in sales. Okay. And of course, 1 times X, 1X is still X. So I know that we need for salesman number 2 to make at least $22,000 in sales in order to make more than salesman number 1. Now, just to be on the safe side, we always check our work by plugging our solution back into the original problem. So let's test this out. Let's take what we know salesman number 2 is making. They're making $500 plus, meaning additionally, another 5% of all their sales. So if the sales they are making is $22,000, all right, I'm going to do 22,000, still up there, times the 5%. That's the $1,100. Okay. 1,100 plus 500, okay, is 1,600. All right. Now, that is the value that we started with for salesman number 1. Now remember, they're equal, okay? But remember the symbol we had, greater than. So as long as salesman number 1 is selling anything greater than $22,000, even if it's $22,001, right? $22,002, $22,003, he is going to make more, he's going to earn more than salesman number 1. So if I have a word problem, I like to finish my problem with words in a word sentence and get a second text box going. Okay, use a different color for my answer. Salesman, the second salesman needs to earn more than $22,000. I'm gonna make this make, needs to make. Okay. Let's bring it all the way over. Needs to make more than $22,000 in sales to earn more than the first salesman. Okay. Cool. Now move the question up, move the answer up so it's not in the way of all of this work we've done. There we go. Right. And this is an Algebra 1 question. Okay. We just solved a 2-step inequality in a real-world application. And I hope that is helpful for when you see problems that are similar on any of your class, coursework, or homework assignments. Best wishes.